I know Dick Clark a little bit. We talked on the phone a lot because there was a national contest, and at that time I was working for the ABC affiliate, and we sent some couples to his show. So there was a lot of promotion where he and I would talk on my show and on some other shows. And he has a good sense of humor. He's not pretentious. He doesn't think he's hot stuff. American Bandstand, to me, seems to be a sort of a sanitized version of my show or something. It had some of the guts taken out of it, because my show was live, theirs was pre-recorded. And anything could happen, and I let it. I even encouraged it. And the crowd that came to my show was much more likely to be interesting, I think, than those kids I saw on Bandstand. It was like better behaved than Dick Clark's kids were in a way, but they're also like less fun. You know, my crowd was fun because they'd kid me back. I'd say something and they'd yell back, and I like that because you only do that with friends. So, but it did well, and it was on for a long time, so you have to give it credit. Besides Dick Clark, one time I made him laugh real hard. So, you know, that's all you have to do to get me to like is laugh at some stupid joke. And oh, my friend. He had called me during this really major windstorm that was national news. And we were live on the air, but he was on the phone, right? And he said, hey, I understand you guys have some winds, heavy winds out there or something. I said, yeah, I just saw, I think it was a piece of Phoenix fly over. And that's not that funny. But Clark, you know, just, yeah. Roth was the kind of guy that this was his humor. And one of the ones, I would say he was like major guy. I mean, he gave me a major break, and he was a cool guy. And one time after I'd been on the station, like, I was program director for years and years, and the Arbitrons, that's a rating book, we live and die by those. And he called me back to his office with a very serious look. And he says, I want you in my office, and I want you in my office now. I thought, geez, what did I do? So I stuck a part-timer on the air, and I went in and sat across his desk, and he threw that Arbitron down in front of me, and he said, I want you to explain that. And I thought, we must have plunged. I'm doomed. I'm finished. It's over. And so I kept saying, okay, 3 to 7, KELP, 3 to 7. And I said, I keep getting a reading of 43. He said, yeah, it's the highest you've ever gotten. I just wondered if you could explain it. I said, with a heart attack, who would you put on? Because that's what you just about gave me. And I love people who will tease me like that. Gene Roth, one of my heroes. The first time I went to the Gila was with my parents. There's a place there, sort of a lookout point. And I said, oh, we've been here before. And they said, no, we haven't. I said, yeah, we have. The cliff dwellings are over there. There are 2 streams that come together right over there. And my father said, well, where are the roads? And I said, I have no idea. Then my mother said, it was getting late. And my mother said, we better go home. And I said, home? Like, what do you think this is? It was a reflex. And there's something, it's like, you always come back charged up. It's like, it is an energy field, Captain. It's live, Jim, but not as we know it. The Gila, to me, is a magical place, just like Sharma is a magical dog. It seems natural to be there. It also seems like I always wanted to just wear cutoffs. You know, I don't, other clothing feels unnatural in the Gila, in the summer. And I figure, well, that must have been the way I dressed in my previous life. I'm not sure. I'll check for Sharma. She knows all these things. I think maybe you have to reach a certain age before you can really appreciate what a pet can do. I suppose, I see these fanatic people on the Animal Channel, which is Sharma's favorite, talking about how much they care about their pets and stuff like that. But my bond with Sharma, I think, is rare. She's like the logical part of me. If there's something going on that's troubling me, or in other words, something I can't fix, and instead of planning a way to fix it, I'm sort of worrying, she'll come over and she'll say, "Oh, are we gonna pout?" I don't know. Dogs are magical. If you'll give them the chance, they will like make the best partner in your life. Memories light the corners of my mind. Misty watercolor. Oh, what would I be if I were a plant? I would like to have deep roots. I would like to live in the Gila. And a pine tree maybe. I never thought about that. And you know why? It's a stupid question. But no, I never thought of being a plant. Although Sharma tells me I have an IQ of room temperature, so I'm right next to it. No, I have no idea about what I'd be. Maybe like a sagebrush on the desert, just so I could be on the desert, and I don't have to become a sagebrush to go there. So I don't know what I'm saying. The sun's cooking my brains with this thing on. The classic comedy bit done by Shelley Berman, whom I met and is a good guy. It's called The Perfect Neurosis, and it's yes. Hello, Dr. Dickey. You remember me, the man that was afraid of fear itself? Well, I'm much better about that. I don't even carry my little security blanket with me, and I don't fly into a rage if my shoelaces are different lengths. But there's been something that's been happening, and it's what is that when you can't? I've been getting very what is that when you can't remember? Oh, forgetful. And it seems to have something to do with the word porcupine. Who am I speaking to, please? Oh, Dr. Dickey, that's funny. I was about to call you. And it goes on and on. But that's the best part. You've heard things like fame, the most addicting drug, and things like that. Well, it's very addictive to be able to make people laugh. It's such a gift. And part of my philosophy or insight is that it is in giving. That's the joy. I asked her once, I said, "You know I love you very, very much. And you kind of like me too, don't you?" And she went, "Yeah." That's as far as she'll come in. And then one night, I had to come downstairs, and I don't remember for what. And so I crawled over to her basket, and I said, "I don't want to come on too strong, but I got to tell you, I honestly believe if you didn't live with me, I wouldn't be alive now." And that doggie took a broken beer bottle from her purse, which she keeps right in there. It's got Velcro. She won't tell me where it is. And carved the word melodramatic in my forehead. Which I was pretty impressed, but I was really impressed when I went on into the bathroom, looked in the mirror. She'd carved it backwards so I could read it. Now that is a special dog right there. See, that's the difference.